Wacky conspiracy theories. That is what we are talking about today, okay? And listen, this is probably a pretty good time to do it because we got some conspiracies of something that may or may not have happened on an island in the middle of the ocean with a dude that may or may not have been the supplier that of rich people that may or may not have been there multiple times, one of them being 26 times, and they may or may not have done something that would have been questionable legally. If you can't tell what I'm talking about, I think you know what I'm talking about. I think we all know what I'm talking about, okay? However, I don't want to bring the mood down. No, I want to go over one of my favorite rabbit holes to go down. And that is wacky conspiracy theories, okay? Understand this. I love a good old conspiracy. And you know what I like more than a conspiracy that's most likely true? I like a conspiracy that there is absolutely zero chance that is right and legitimately engaging in conversation with people that are either playing the part of somebody that believes that birds aren't real or at best birds are actually CIA agents, or engaging in people that believe in the Hollow Earth Agartha. Yes, that is the type of video that we're going to be covering. We're going to go over wacky conspiracies, everything from flat Earth, the moon is a satellite, to something that definitely didn't happen, and that is Operation Paperclip. Yeah, we're going to be talking about all of that today, okay? If this is entertaining you, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 250,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I think we're going to be able to do it, and I think we're going to hit 500,000 subscribers before the release of GTA 6, and all of that is only possible with the support of you guys. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like the video to stay to get in your algorithm, and hit the bell icon to stay notified, okay? And with all that out of the way, let's get into the video of wacky conspiracy theories. Let's go. The moon landing was faked. Understand this. I understand this to a certain degree, because the problem is that NASA during the 1960s, if I'm in a contest over, hey, oh, please don't seem sketchy, and my competitor is NASA during the 1950s and 60s, brother, I'm cooked. Okay, like, we're going to be talking about some of the stuff that NASA did in dude, NASA went out of their way to do stuff that I look back on in hindsight and I'm like, brother, why would you do that? Why would you do that? But including one of those is, oh yes, every single photo that we took was 100% on the moon. And then we found out afterwards is like, actually, we had to do some digital retouches. Actually, a lot of these were actually fake pictures because it's actually pretty difficult to get some of these photos up there. So we actually had to get some of these photos done within a studio. But no, the moon landing itself was not fake. It's like, and we were able to live broadcast it to Earth. I'm not even kidding you. That is one thing that the fake moon landing people. The one thing that they'll say that it's so weird that people will push back on is they point out stuff like, there is almost no way that they would ever be able to pull off a live stream of them taking the first steps on the moon. And then people will be like, well, maybe they couldn't. No, they couldn't. I'm sorry, in the big old year of 2025, if you're actually still arguing that is something that we would be able to pull off when the best computer back then literally gets outperformed 100-1 by the iPhone that's filming this video, brother, no. I'm sorry, okay? They're 100% at bare minimum is some white lies that's going on, okay? If you want to talk about, when I'm talking about conspiracies, one of the things that I need to have is an incentive structure into it. And the incentive for faking the moon landing would be, oh yeah, we were in a Cold War with Russia and they were going to the moon and we lost the arms race, we lost a bunch of conflicts across the globe, and we kind of needed a win to get morale up because capitalism is the best, okay? And we wanted to get the space race won because they already won the satellite war, they already won getting somebody in space, and we only really won getting to the moon. But that kind of goes away for me because the Soviets, okay, which were literally incentivized to lie about literally fucking everything, and they lied about so much that it comes to it, to the point where I'm talking with like a communist bro. They are actively bringing up stuff that defeats their point. Oh yeah, well the Soviet Union was able to be better at wartime manufacturing than we were during World War II. You wanna know why? Because we literally set the fucking architect of Detroit to the Soviet Union to teach them how to do it. Oh yeah, bro, communism is amazing at building infrastructure, at building weapons, you know, when they're taught by people from the big old US of A. Okay, I'm sorry, you're getting me fired up already. But, brother, the Soviets were literally incentivized to lie all the time. Now, there's some stuff that's faked around it, probably, 100%. I'm sorry, are you gonna pretend like NASA was not lying their ass off during the 1970s? We're gonna talk about a dude named Werner von Braun in a second. And you're going to be like, there's no way that happened. And no, it didn't just happen. Brother, he has a building named after him, okay? There's a whole lot that we're going to be talking about in this. But I'm going to leave this. It has some weirdness. It does. It does have some weirdness, okay? Actually, yeah, I'm going to put it in weird. I think weird is actually pretty valid. I'm putting it right in the middle. I 100% will forego that there's some weirdness that comes up with the moon landing. There was an incentive for us to lie. The part that I always get hung up on when we're talking about this conspiracy is what would be the motive behind the Soviet Union's going along with our lie when it actually proves that we won the space race. Okay, like, that's the problem. And it wasn't like, yeah, man, you do this and we'll have each other's back. No. We actively made fun of the Soviet Union every chance we could. Brother, fucking Taco Bell made fun of the Soviet Union for not getting to the moon. I'm not kidding. That was something. Taco Bell and the Soviet Union have beef. That happened. Okay, I'm putting it in weird. I'm just gonna put it in weird. Birds aren't real. Post-1970s. That has to be brought up. There's another birds aren't real one. This one is the birds aren't real after 1970s because apparently they figured out Bluetooth technology and inductive charging in the 1970s. And what that says is most birds that you see on a day-to-day basis were actually either CIA assets or CIA trained to conduct surveillance on the American people. And this has been going on ever since the 1970s. And they get on power lines to recharge through induction charging. I'm just going to keep it real with you, bro. If birds are actually working for the CIA, brother, they suck. 100% they suck, okay? They are slacking every bit around. I just saw 2 robins go at it outside the window over there. What are they doing? Is that my FBI and CIA agent, fighting each other over who's going to get the good, dirt on me when they looking up a search history? Is that really what we're going on right now? Okay, I'm sorry. The birds' fake one is so crazy to me. Because I don't even know. What's the motive? Well, they want to conduct surveillance. There's so many other ways to conduct surveillance than literally employing the fucking birds. Bro, I want you to think about this right now, okay? In the modern day and age, how I would conduct surveillance, oh my goodness, bro. I would start a lobbying firm with Google and a bunch of, other these big tech companies, and I would offer them special government, no competition contracts, and all they have to do is open up a back door for me to go in to, do a threat assessment on the American people. And I'd be able to do it because essentially what I'm doing is offering free money to these billion-dollar corporations that are hyper-competitive. And all I got to do is say, hey, you don't have to compete anymore. You just got to sign this paper. Yeah, because that definitely is not being done. I'm going to put the problem with birds aren't real. Actually, there's so many problems with this one. You're too far gone. If my boy's coming up to me and saying, yo, bro, you think those are real birds? I'm looking him dead in the eye. I'm going to be like, nope. Definitely not. Okay, adios, my man. The Earth is flat. Okay, let me tell you something about Flat Earth, okay? I respect the dedication. Listen, ladies, to the 3 girls that are in my audience, find yourself a man that's as committed to you as Flat Earthers are committed to saying, you know what, every single bit of proof that we bring up that constantly gets beaten time after time after time after time again, including when we went to literally, the South Pole, because we said, oh yeah, well, if we're actually on a flat Earth, the sun will be moving in this type of way, and that is under the actual flat Earth model that don't even get me started on the actually you're gonna get me started. Oh man, there's a lot of crass outs in this one. Okay, we'll talk about the flat Earth model in a second. Okay, but we're going to go to the South Pole, and we are going to conduct an experiment to go track the movement of the sun, because on a flat Earth, the sun is going to look way different than it is on a spherical Earth. And they went there, and for the next 12 hours were proved wrong time after time after time again. And some of them still will not accept the L. I'm sorry, it's a cult. It's a cult. It has to be a cult. There's actually no way. There's no cult. How? Brother, how? I make the joke, but if the moment we get commercial space travel, I think we have to send all the flat earthers up, and then maybe bring some of them back. Joking. Maybe bring some of them back. That's all I'm saying. Because how? Brother, how? It's ugh! Well, you see, for the majority of human history, we thought the Earth was flat. Brother, they thought germs were fake for most of human history. I'm sorry, there is a level of looking to, the forefathers and our ancestors for wisdom that I'm kind of no, brother, they weren't smarter than us, they just had less... Actually, no. It's not that they were dumber than us. They just had less information to work with. I'm sorry, bro. In the palm of your hand, you have literally the infinite of the borderline infinite information of the human experience at the palm of your fucking hand, and it can be deciphered to you in the voice of a woman called Siri. Okay? And you choose to be like, yes, no, bro, the earth is flat. Dog, stop. Brother, stop. Okay? Stop. You're cooked. Because there's so many problems. Don't even... we're going on the flat earth model? Did you know there's never been a flat earth model that can accurately account for eclipses? Literally never. The reason why people think, well, not people, the flat earthers have to resort to saying that the eclipse is, any eclipse that goes on, especially a full eclipse, is a government program of holograms, is because the eclipse is one of the few things in the one of the many things in the flat earth model that literally is borderline magic. There is no way. Total eclipses should not be possible. And if they are possible, it would be occurring every single day. The fact that we can predict when an eclipse is going to happen, where the eclipse is going to happen, what type of eclipse it's going to be, and then a flat earther is going to be like, nah, bro, it's flat. Stop. Give me a flat earth model that can accurately predict an eclipse, and then we can actually start talking like we're intellectual equals. Other than that, we're not talking anymore. I'm talking at you. We're not talking with. Stop it. I once knew a dude that was a flat earther, okay, and I used to train some jiu-jitsu with him. And when I tell you, no, bro had a good judo throw, but at the same time, I'm like, so how do you think gravity works? It's like, well, no, it's not gravity, it's oh my goodness, the density argument. Oh my goodness. Because gravity is theoretical, and it cannot be met. You're too far gone. You're too far, I can't. Too far gone. I'm getting too in the sauce, too far gone. The moon is hollow. Okay, now believe it or not, there is some weirdness with the moon. But like the weirdness in the moon is like, yeah, bro. There's a lot of resources on the moon that we could be getting some of, okay? And part of the weirdness that's going to feed into, like, the moon landing conspiracy, because a lot of these conspiracies feed into each other. So what it creates is a confirmation bias where one of these conspiracies has to be true in order for the next one to be true. So if you buy into, like, 3 conspiracy theories at a time that automatically build off each other, the moment that one gets disproved, it actually takes out the entire chain. And that is why I do believe there is such an outrageous confirmation bias when it comes to stuff like this. Because when the moment one thing gets proved wrong, part of your identity literally gets erased before your very eyes. Okay, that's part of it. I also think it's a good coping mechanism for a lot of people. If I'm going to be honest. When we're looking at the moon as hollow, okay, like the proof really there was. During some Apollo missions, NASA said that the moon rang like a bell when they dropped their equipment, and bells are hollow. Coincidence? I think not. Okay, yeah, I agree with you, that's weird. You're also dealing with literal 1970s level technology, okay? Like, next, are we gonna say Chernobyl was, like, the best nuclear reactor that we could ever make? It was literally made by Soviets that were running out of food. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, there's a difference between, like, not giving history its respect than literally going in this hyper-glaze session where we pretend that, like, everybody in history had everything that we had now. Like, no, brother, stop it, okay? And a lot of that stuff ended up being corrected, and then when we're looking at the moon as hollow, then you're looking into, was like, the moon was placed there as a satellite. And again, I'm looking at it like this. I think that's a cool, like, concept for a movie, like Moonfall. But at the same time, like, brother, where are we going with this? The problem that I have with some of these, like, grand conspiracies is when you're trying to establish a motive for some of them, you literally have to land on it's either God or an alien. And, like, one side believes it's God, the other side believes it's an alien. Where it really gets fun is when it's gods and aliens. And that's where we're going to be getting into later on in here. But the moon is hollow. I'm just going to be real. I'm going to say yeah, no. I understand why this one can be believed. But at the same time, I'm just going to hear, yeah, nah. Yeah, nah. Why not? Nah. It's no. I'm going to put it in yeah, no. I think that's a valid placement for this. Charles Manson was a CIA asset. Allegedly. Okay, now when we're looking into this, when we're talking about, like, MK Ultra, the fact is the problem when you're going to, like, conspiracy versus anti-conspiracy, where the anti-conspiracy people kind of lose me, is if their way of disproving the conspiracy is, well, why would they do that? That just seems so weird. Dog, I want you to think about this, okay? The CIA faked vampire attacks to hurt people's morals. We put speakers inside of the trees of the Vietnam wilderness to mimic ghost sounds because the people of Vietnam were very spiritual. Another one. We literally tried to make a cat with a microphone in it and drop it off in Stalingrad in the hopes that a high-ranking politician in the Soviet Union would pick up the stray cat. And then what happened is the stray cat got hit by a car when we put it in New York. So I'm sorry, if your argument against these is it's too weird, I would actually argue that's a point that makes it probably true. I feel like it's a prerequisite that it has to be weird because then it's not believable. I'm sorry, bro. In the 1970s, the CIA was going on a Harlem Globetrotters Michael Jordan LSD-fueled run. I swear, they were doing it too, and the amount of creative plans that they were coming with, it was absolutely insane. MK Ultra just happened, and this is where they lose me. It's like, whoa, there's not much in the MK Ultra that we can really be looking at. Like, there's a lot of filling in the gap that's going on with these conspiracy theorists that I just think is unhealthy. Do you know why we have to fill in the gaps of MK Ultra? Because the only reason that we know about MK Ultra is because one secretary made a mistake and put the files for MK Ultra in a different warehouse. The original warehouse burnt down. The files were shredded. I want you to think about that. The only reason we know about MK Ultra and the reason that we have to resort to filling in the gaps is because all the other files were shredded. It's literally their fault. They're like, well, bro, what? I'm sorry. When we're getting into MK Ultra, it's weirder to diminish MK Ultra than it is to go full conspiracy nut mode on it. Because I'm sorry, that's just weird. That is, it's fiction level. Well, they admitted to it. They admitted to it because they made a mistake and they didn't shred all the files. They actively tried to get rid of all the proof of it happening. Okay? We also put millions of dollars in the psychics because we wanted to perform some type of psionic warfare on the Soviets. And, yeah, we did all that too. My goodness, bro. I'm sorry. We went crazy mode in the 1970s. When we're looking at the Charles Manson and the whole Manson thing and the whole Manson family, I'm sorry, that bro, he was 100% doing some level of something. Bro was trying to ignite a race war between... like, in the 1970s, I can get where you're coming from, because if you were just some average white dude in California, I can understand that frame of mind. The problem also that you're getting with the Manson families is the multiple times that he was arrested, let go, when 100% they should not have let him go. And there is some level of connection, the people that were working on MK Ultra, to him. And I'm sorry, dude, if we're dealing with the CIA, and there's a weird level of connection that they have to a person throughout history, I'm just going to be real here. There probably is a link. That is a coincidence that I have to look into. I'm going to be real. Do I believe he was a direct asset? Probably not. I think he was somebody that they were like, but keep an eye on this Manson guy. Like, keep an eye on him. There's probably there's something up with this guy. I think that's how I look at it. Operation Paperclip. Let me tell you about how wacky this one is. You see, after World War II, we were engaging in a Cold War with the Soviet Union because the Soviet Union was not happy with us because we told them, hey, suffer the repercussions of your actions because you're literally part of the reason that the fucking World War II started because you signed a non-aggression pact with the Germans during World War II, literally making a deal with the historical devil that said that you were going to get half of Poland and Germany was going to get the other half of Poland, and then mysteriously the non-aggression pact turned out to be non-void because Germany attacked you, it pushed into your land, so you had to perform a defensive maneuver and defensive military campaign where you defended yourself against the Germans, and then started attacking the Germans and then said, "The Allies, we are one of you!" Brother, no, you literally defended your own borders. You were the reason we got into the conflict. I'm sorry, people that try to blame, like, American isolationism for World War II is so weird to me, because, brother, we were literally suffering a Great Depression, and then we're looking at Soviet Union that literally made a deal with the devil. Brother, what? I'm sorry, okay. Well, you see, the Soviet Union was actually the reason the Japanese surrendered. Brother, you are taking a historical event that's been taken so far out of history. Do you know why Japan surrendered? They actually told us why they fucking surrendered. Because we dropped a nuke on them twice! That was literally the reason that they gave. Well, no, it was actually this. Why would they lie? Why would they actually lie, though? I'm sorry. I'm getting into it. Okay, because after all of that, okay, there was an operation that was being conducted by the U.S. government, because Operation Paperclip. And basically what it said, that all of these high-ranking rocket scientists going undiva and traveling into Antarctica and do all sorts of weird stuff and, making some rocket stuff, all that beauty. yeah, we took a bunch of them, gave them high-paying jobs, and told them to come over here, and then some of them allegedly was working for NASA. And according, one of them actually became one of the higher-ups, and maybe even the director of NASA, that being a guy named Wernher von Braun, who was so brutal. This is the guy that they talk about when, oh yeah, bro, I'm gonna have 20 workers, and then the slowest one, I'm gonna hang him from the rafters. Yeah, isn't that wacky? And then he was one of the directors of NASA in this theory. And then it turned out this was 100% just happened. Brother, this was a conspiracy for so long, like for literal decades. And then they finally came out and said, oh yeah, we did that. We 100% did that, bro. Yeah, bro, fuck yeah, bro, we did that. Yeah, bro, they actually started NASA. One of the first directors of NASA was like a high-ranking. It was like, oh, well, maybe they weren't. Oh, this is what they said when it initially came out. They said, well, these aren't the bad Germans. These are the Germans that were just following orders. Wernher von Braun was literally notorious for being one of the most brutal of all of them. It was stated by, like, I think it was like an international, like, I think like war crimes committee said that if Wernher von Braun was still alive today, they would try him for crimes against humanity. Yeah, that did happen. Yeah, that happened. Oh, well, the Soviets would never. They quite literally did it. They quite literally did that. But they took them as rewards of war, and they would go into these German towns and just abduct them and bring them into like these. Yeah, no, the Soviets did it too. I'm sorry, like people that want to phrase it. I don't know, bro. The Soviet glaze is kind of weird. If you want to say they have a cool accent and they made some cool weapons, fine. But I'm sorry, hold the Soviet glaze just a little bit, okay? They're no longer with us, if you can tell. Okay, I'm going to put this in, yes, that happened, because it did happen. Hollow Earth. Yes, you've heard of Flat Earth. Hollow Earth is, there's during in Antarctica, the Germans were going in there and they discovered a hole to go inside, and that's where all of this, there's actually a whole other world inside of the Earth, and the core of the Earth is actually this rotating plasma sun that heats up the inside, and also the sun from outside is, beaming on us, so it's essentially the same thing. Part of the proof that they want to use is humans are the only animal on Earth that gets like a headache if we stare at the sun too long. And I'm like, brother, did you ask the fucking gophers this? Bro, what? That's what? I'm sorry, dude. Some of these hurt my brain a little bit, but Hollow Earth people are fun. Now, a real fun people is the Flat Earth and Hollow Earth people that were basically like a Assassin's Creed Odyssey map. But underneath of it is no, we're essentially in a world of Elden Ring. That's essentially what they're talking about here. It's the same thing. Actually, Hollow Earth actually makes a little bit more sense to me because we ultimately do have caves, and there are caves that are so large that they actually have their own ecosystem. And then when you start comparing, like, dude, I'm sorry. I swear some of these conspiracies link together like the fucking MCU, and the Nephilim go into Hollow Earth. Stop. The Garden of Eden is inside the Earth. Stop. I'm sorry. Too far gone. Actually, nah, Flat Earth's too weird. Yeah, that's weirder to me. I'm gonna say yeah, no. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. That's what I'm gonna say. I think that's a perfect place to put Hollow Earth. Some proof. Ancient cultures, they said that the Earth was hollow, and they have some maps that prove this. And there was a few people throughout history that said the same thing. And these people throughout history also had an incentive to say this. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again. I'm very, very hesitant to take the historical accounts of people that literally thought germs were fake. I'm just saying, okay, a lot of these arguments are being made out of naivety, not out of malice, okay? I'm sorry, I'm going to put this in yeah, no. Modern art is a CIA Psy-Op. Again, during the 1970s, because the CIA was going on an absolute Harlem Globetrotters, this time LeBron James level run, they claimed that one of the competitions that we had with the Soviet Union was culturally, and we had better music than they did, and we had better art. But the problem is making better art, it's all subjective. So one of the things that they did allegedly is that they would prop up a lot of these modern artists, modern art, as how weird it is, and then they would say, look how beautiful this modern art is, and then they would fund a lot of these big, like, artistic museums, and then this would become the de facto art, because Soviet art is way different than our art, because Soviets believe in hyperrealism, something that can be replicated with a photograph, and then we have people here that are like, you know what, bro, if I tape a banana to a wall, that shit is peak. And I'm gonna be real here. Personally, I think this one's true. I'm sorry, bro. Modern art is trash! Modern art is so trash, dude. I'm sorry. I'm sick and tired. It's like, well, you just don't get it. I don't want to get it. I'm sorry. If I have to turn my head sideways, have a stroke to understand the profoundness of a banana taped to a lawn chair, and you're going to call it splitting the evening, I'm good. I'm good. I'm sorry. I'm most likely. That's going to be real here. CIA, the modern art is a CIA Psy-Op. I feel that one. Okay? Like, I'm gonna keep it real here. You want to hear another one that was a conspiracy for the longest time, and then it turned out to be true? Coca-Cola actually used World War II as a way of inserting itself as literally one of the most iconic drinks in the world. And people thought that was fake, that Coca-Cola was literally giving money to the government in order to capture back these Coca-Cola plants in Germany that later became Fanta plants. Yeah, that just happened. I've already talked about, Coca-Cola had some special contracts with the USA, and Pepsi was so butthurt by this, they actually argued that it wasn't good for competition, and Coca-Cola said, Are you working with the enemy? Yeah, no, bro, Coca-Cola won because of World War II. Reptilian Overlords. Okay, do you know where I think this came from? I think Reptilian Overlords came from something where they were like, people in power gain so much power, they don't view people as people. And I do feel like this. I feel like after a certain amount of power and a certain amount of fame, you legitimately get disconnected to what people are. So you start viewing, like, the ruling class starts viewing the oppressed class as something that is lower than human. And on the inverse of that, the people that are being oppressed are going to view the ruling class as something other than human. And I think this is actually an intrinsic way that we try to, like, cope with the idea that people in power legitimately don't view us as equals. So we say, they're not human. They're as cold as a reptile. And then through a game of telephone, it gets turned into the Reptilian Overlords. Well, there was some video glitches. Again, this is literally technology in the 1970s. I'm sorry, bro. Stop treating technology from literally 3 decades ago as the premier way of checking it. Why is it not happening now? Well, maybe it is. And they're saying... Stop. Brother, stop. Okay, where are the reptilians coming from? You're telling me? Brother, if there was a bunch of Argonians walking around, we would find out so quick. We would not. If some Argonians were walking around us, like in modern day, dog, we would have 3 different types of slavery and 17 different slurs created in the first week. Yo, slur guy, come up with something for Argonians right now, okay? I'm sorry, where are we going with this? Okay, I'm gonna put the Reptilian Overlords in. You're too far gone. You are too far gone. I understand where it started, but brother, I'm sorry. You're too far gone. The pyramids were built by the Nephilim before the flood. Okay, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about the pyramids, okay? I do believe there is some amount of weirdness with the pyramids. I think when you're looking at stuff like the King's List, and the King's List is like a etched in stone hieroglyphics of all of the pharaohs that existed throughout time, and the King's List has been checked out time after time again, and it's proven that there was a pharaoh here, pharaoh here, pharaoh here, and it works out pretty well. The problems is with the King's List is it actually goes back farther than we think it is, and that would actually make the pyramids, now off the top of my head, I might get this wrong, up to 10,000 years older than what we think they are. And one of the accounts for this is, so the stones were so massive they had to recruit the giants to help them, so they got the Nephilim in from the Bible to help them. And for anyone who doesn't know what the Nephilim are, in the Old Testament, it was the offspring of humans on earth and angels from heaven, and they created these giant babies called the Nephilim, and it is implied that Goliath was one of these in the whole David versus Goliath. And before I say, what do you mean by giants? It is estimated that Goliath would be about 8 to 9 feet. I think it was 8 to 12 feet tall. But you're literally going off one description of what that would be, and I feel like that part of that is a game of telephone too. What do I think about the pyramids? No, I don't think they were made by giants. If anything, if I had to give a conspiracy that I do kind of believe in with the pyramids, I think the pyramids are older than we think they are. I really do. 10,000 years older, maybe. I would probably say 5,000 years older. I'd probably say 5,000 years. Well, carbonating's kind of hard to do on something that is the pyramids. There's a lot of stuff that we're carbonating. We're carbonating stuff in between the stones. And the problem is a lot of a lot of the stuff that's in between the stones, you could argue would be blowing in after the fact, because they did have a ton of limestone that coated the outside of the pyramids, and we took those off afterwards. So maybe some stuff blew into the cracks then. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of weirdness that we're going in there. And okay, when we're looking at the pyramids, were created by the Nephilim, I'm going to say yeah, no. You're going in an area that I understand, but ultimately, I'm going to say no. The 411 conspiracy. For anyone who doesn't know what Missing 411 is, Missing 411 essentially says that there is a weird amount of disappearances that goes on around national parks. And the conspiracy says that the National Parks Foundation is colluding with other government agencies, and they are trying to cover up something that is causing people to be disappeared, whether that be skinwalkers, wendigos, or mountain people, or demons. Of course, there's always something that gets worked into here. And part of the weirdness here is the fact is that there is a lot of weird missing person stuff when it comes to the national parks. And for anyone who's going to say, oh, well, yeah, there'd be some missing person stuff. It's the national forest. 411 are disappearances that we have actually no clue how it happened. Like, it's almost a prerequisite for 411 that it is something that cannot really be explained. Yeah, if you go off the trail and we never see you again, we probably know. But it would be stuff like a 5-year-old goes missing, 7 days later, they're found 50 miles away on the top of a mountain. And we're like, no human can make that trek. How did a child do it? Oh, well, a cougar could have carried him. How would a cougar carry him that far? There's a lot of weirdness that we're looking in the national parks. Now, if I had to play devil's advocate here, what do I think? I think the national parks, because it's bad publicity and they have to argue for funding with the federal government, which isn't looking the best right now. They try to make it look better than it is, so they're actively going to do some level of, not cover up, but some level of, hey, let's not bring up the fact that people are going missing and we don't really know how they're going missing, because we got to get our funding from the federal gov. And I think that's more likely with the case, and I'm going to put it in. Do I think there's like Wendigos in there? No. I think there is some level of cover-up that's going on, but I think it's more of a, hey, oh, this is bad press. I'm going to put it in most likely. The Bob Lazar story. Oh my goodness. Bob Lazar will get his own video eventually, but I'm going to give you the clip notes really quick. Okay, Bob Lazar was an alleged scientist working at Area 51 to do some working on these UFOs that have been crash landing from outer space, okay? And his job was to break down these UFOs into usable components. And that is where we're getting a lot of this technology, and that is part of the conspiracy that technology is progressing faster than it normally would, because it is progressing faster, but there's a logical explanation for this. Like, for example, we had horses and chariot for the majority of human history, and then we went from horse and chariot to the B-2 stealth bomber in the same time it took from, like, chariot to chariot. I'm not kidding. Like, that's how quickly it happened. Like, airplanes came out of nowhere. And part of that is, hey, maybe that we're doing a lot of, we're reverse engineering a lot of these UFO crafts that are coming from outer space, and that's where we're getting touchscreen technology. And they're getting a lot of these non-government agencies to work on it, and it's being hid in a lot of these forms that don't have to be disclosed through the government. It's actually just within these companies' files. And I'll be real here. That actually makes a lot of sense if I'm just going to be real. Like, that would be the way to do it. Now, naturally, the problem occurs is that the more people that have to be involved in a conspiracy for it to be a conspiracy, the less likely I do believe it occurs. I'm sorry. The only way that 3 people can keep a secret is if 2 of them slip and die and the other one just forgets what the secret is. That is what I've come to. The more people it requires to keep the conspiracy a conspiracy, the less likely it is to be true. However, when we're looking with Area 51, and you literally have a built-in incentive structure. Like, I'll just say this right now. I think most of the UFO stuff that we see is literally just military craft. Now, I do think aliens are real, but I think a large portion of what we're seeing is military craft that they're kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We have something that can literally move faster than anything that we can ever make. So that's a little bit weird. Bob Lazar is alleging that we've been doing a lot of this reverse engineering. 10 years after 10 years, he was brought in as a guy to do a lot of the propulsion stuff. And he predicted Element 115 around 10 years before it ever came out. And when he went public with this, because they thought that he was going to get iced, he said that, well, what else did he say? He says that he was working at Area 51, took a polygraph, passed all the polygraphs, and was able to have a work history that was kind of documented. He said he went to MIT. There was no records of him being at MIT. And then they were able to find a newspaper of him getting accepted into MIT. and he was able to know the layouts of areas that he should not have known the layouts of, and he knew people that he should not have known. So there's some weirdness, and the only people that can literally disappear you like that would be somebody in the federal government, and that is naturally kind of weird. I'm gonna be real here. I think that's really weird. I think there's aspects to his story that have been implanted and are probably fake. Like, he said that a lot of these ships came from the Andromeda Galaxy. I think that was something that was interlaced in with a lot of the stuff that he was given in order to discredit him. Because that's another thing that he alleged inside of his story, that a part of the reason that no whistleblowers want to come out is that they are purposely fed 2 true things and 1 false thing so they can instantly be discredited if they were to ever go forward. And personally, that's smart. That's something that I would do. And when we're looking at the whole Bob Lazar story, the fact is he is either the most convinced liar there is, because there is no real gain for him for this, or there is some level of truth and he was working on reverse engineering a craft. Okay, I'm going to put it in weird. And there you go. Those are some wacky conspiracies, and if I think they are legit. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. If you wanted a different conspiracy video, try to get this to 5,000 likes, and I might be able to do something for you. Okay, I've been feeling real conspiratorial lately, and I wanted to get this one out of my system. It also won the community poll, and I try to do the one that wins the community poll, unless it wins after I film the video. Okay. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 250,000 subscribers before the end of the year, 500,000 subscribers before the release of GTA 6. Hit the bell icon, subscribe, hit the bell icon again to stay notified. And with all that out of the way, I will see you all in the next video. Adios, guys.